Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our third installment here of the Team HeroesHype Amateur League. I have brought out the hat. I'm the forecourt jester, and with me tonight, the returning, dominating Strawberry Mama. It is Anna Prosser-Robinson. How you doing?
Really good. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking forward to your commentary once more, see how much you've improved over the last 2 weeks. We had, of course, your co-host from Misclicks and Eye of the Storm, Gillyweed, on with us last week, and she was phenomenal. So we're looking forward once more to your contributions.
I'm excited to see these matches. It was really fun last time, and we have some of the same teams back, I think, right?
A lot of, actually, the same teams come back. Now, the Rising Taquitos has unfortunately had to drop tonight. As some kind of unforeseen circumstances occurred. So it means c'est la vie, but I believe we're in a round of 32 and something like 22 teams, I believe, checked in. I do actually have it all the way over here. 19 teams have checked in because we've, so we're into the round of 32, and we're actually going to skip right that through the buys into a round of 16 match, which will be the Heartbreakers and RG Pulse. We have actually casted the Heartbreakers together, I believe, on our first night, Anna.
It's the cardiac arrest match. RG Pulse versus the Heartbreakers. Who will stop your heart? Or will they do CPR on you and hook you up to a defibrillator and keep your pulse running?
Well, this got oddly specific fast. And on the back of that, I say we jump over to the draft where the teams have now started for our first game of the night. So Heartbreakers taking blue, RG Pulse going to be hitting it over on red, and our first ban is going to be an Illidan.
Does that surprise you at all?
With the current meta, no. He is a very polarizing kind of pick. Right now we have like two kind of main focuses when it comes to a bit more of the competitive play. It's either protect the Illidan or protect the specialist. Either being Sergeant Hammer or Nazebo. This is an interesting ban, though, from the Heartbreakers. There might be somebody from RG Pulse that is well known for this one, but where is that button? There it is. The Lost Vikings are going to be the second ban of the night. And that, do you remember the Taquitos? The Taquitos had horse pants, the legendary horse pants with the legendary Vikings. Yeah. No, he's not here tonight, but somebody on Pulse must be really good with those Vikings.
Yeah, because there's probably no other reason they would defensively say, no, we don't want you to play Vikings, right?
Well, the Vikings have a lot of good strengths in the right hands, but overall, I'm not really sure they're worth the ban on a general level. But c'est la vie. Who's our first pick here for Pulse?
Looks like we're going to see Nazebo coming out. Specialist right away. They're not going to see Illidan or Lost Vikings. They're going to make sure they've got a zombie wall. And, again, not too surprising. I feel like we're seeing a lot of Nazebo lately, don't you?
It's been a heck of a lot of Nazebo. A few patches ago, just kind of the rise of the Witch Doctor. But, you know, I got to say, if Pulse has that new Harlequin skin, and I'm wearing this Jester hat, there's some kind of powers combined that's going to be happening there.
The Harlequin skin is pretty creepy, if you ask me. A little bit creepy.
Absolutely creepy. It goes very well with Countess Kerrigan. Have you read the bio to the Harlequin Nazebo?
No.
He literally performs death rituals for the amusement of Countess Kerrigan.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty dark.
Well, that's kind of cool. Well, then we see some picks coming out from the Heartbreakers. We've got ETC and Vala. Solid picks. Vala always just... Vala's like, I like to call her the ultimate wingman, you know? She's like, always got your back, gonna be solid. Nobody's super excited about her, but, you know, she's got your back. Kind of need her to be with you while you go and, you know, try to break some hearts.
Well, she could definitely throw an arrow to your heart. That's. I was surprised we didn't have any Valentine's Day skins for her. You know, like every other MOBA has, you know, these strong female Valentine skins, but we got a new Barak. So what does that say for us? I guess.
Hey, there you go.
But
big giant bugs need hearts too.
Absolutely. No, you're right. I mean, she is sort of like the quintessential pick when it comes to the assassins, especially in, well, I can't even say North America, just everywhere. Vala is the staple assassin to go back and forth. So Heartbreakers are setting themselves up very well with that first pick. They could go really any direction on the back of all this. And on the flip side, we're going to get a Diablo to come out with a Tychus. So the Diablo synergy pick with Nazeebo, we have been seeing this a little bit more and more. The Apocalypse stun into a Nazeebo Ravenous, but it's also a deny pick here from Pulse. They're saying if you wanted to run double Warrior and you wanted that Apocalypse to stop out the Nazeebo Ravenous, we're going to deny that. Diablo by himself, though, has really come into his own this patch with a really high pick rate compared to a lot of the previous metas.
I'm really happy to see that. I'm a fan of Diablo, and there has been some discussion about him not being too strong, so I'm happy to see a big resurgence of more of his. Apocalypse specifically is always just a mind-blowing happenstance in a game.
He can be absolutely game-changing.
Mm-hmm. He is tough to play when you're not coordinated with your team. If someone might be pulling him out of something you wanted to do, that's always a problem. But when in a coordinated team like this, when you've practiced something, it's definitely going to be that displacement's going to be valuable too.
Absolutely. So, what are the Heartbreakers now going to be answering that with? Looks like it's going to be an Uther and a Tyrande. So, in theory, double support, Tyranda's definitely a bit more of a bruiser when it comes to gameplay. She does rack up quite a bit more damage than a typical support. And she also brings a very important factor to a lot of these team fights, which is the Hunter's Mark, her passive. She can mark somebody and they will be taking extra damage. And that goes very well with Vala, who just absolutely loves piling on the damage.
Mm-hmm. And we actually just talked about double support on Eye on the Storm and how valuable it can be. And I like the pick of Tyrande for that double support where it's saying, okay, we're doing this double support thing, but we're also kind of hedging our bets. You know, she can do a couple other things too, maybe not solely support.
And, double support is something that I would have actually expected from the last pickups here from Pulse to kind of match it because, support meta is just very hype right now. But it is only going to be the Malfurion here to heal out RG Pulse. Their last pick, however, is a Jaina. And Jaina has been somebody we've been seeing a little bit more of these last few weeks. Evil Geniuses in particular has been running a lot of Jaina in their matches. And that sounds like a familiar brand. Why is that, Anna?
Yeah, I've heard of them. I hear they're pretty good, yeah. I think they're okay.
Couldn't be the fact that you work for them. Yeah.
I mean, I may have worked with them a little bit for the last, 4 or 5 years or whatever. So.
Not an insignificant amount of time.
Yeah.
But we have been seeing, as I said, a lot of Jaina. She brings a lot of control to the map, but she is very frail. So the last pickup here from Heartbreakers, are they going to try to capitalize on that frailness? I'd say so. They do go with the double tank, and they pick up the Stitches for completing out their rosters. The Heartbreakers with a very solid front line. The Stitches hook, Devour. We got ETC in there with his guitar solos, with his rockstar auras. We can get True Shot aura out of the Tyrande as well. There's a lot of things that combine very well for the front line here of Heartbreakers, but their only real big damage dealer is that Vala.
Yeah, it looks like they're kind of very solid, like you said. But what do you think that RG Pulse is going to have up their sleeve with some of the synergy they've built there?
Well, it's kind of like the survival comp from Heartbreakers versus the try to kill everything instantly Pulse comp. Because they got 2 assassins and a specialist. So I call that the 2.5 special. But Ravenous is very well known for high damage in a lot of these team fights. Jaina can do some absolutely insane burst, and Tychus is a very good steady damage dealer on the end of it. So, if Heartbreakers is a little out of position, they get caught, or they can't handle the burst coordination from Pulse, well, Heartbreakers could have a bad time. If Heartbreakers, however, does kind of disrupt the plans, they get their own hooks off, or the burst isn't really as coordinated as it needs to be from Pulse, well, Heartbreakers is going to have a much better time sustaining. So we'll see. We will see. We're going to load into it, Miss Anna, and tell us what are we going to be seeing here for our first match of the night.
We are on Cursed Hollow. So if you are new to Heroes of the Storm, or maybe not too familiar with this map, you're going to see tributes spawning on the top and the bottom of the map in 6 different places. They spawn more or less randomly. And what happens then is that both teams are going to run and try to claim that tribute for their own, because if they are able to claim 3 tributes, then the Raven Lord will curse their opponent, and that will make all of their buildings out of ammo and their minions only 1 hit point. And that will make things much, much easier for the team who is not cursed to really push against the team that is cursed. So it's a really great objective, good way to kind of give yourself the advantage. But the challenge is to make sure that you're minding your cost-benefit analysis and saying, is it worth what I might lose if I go into a team fight at a tribute when I don't have the manpower?
Decisions. We're going to have to see what teams are going to be making them as we're about to jump in, guys. First game of the night, round of 16. Here are the Team HeroesHype Amateur League Day 3. It is the Heartbreakers on the blue. Jumping Duck, once more, coming out to stream. K. Shavos, Jaslyn, Frisky Bone, and Silent.
And of course, in red, we have RG Pulse, which is Jingle Sassy, just like your hat. Shonksta, Wes W. or Wesu? I'm not sure.
Just call him
Kirby. Wes.
Yep.
Good old Wes. Kirby team, and I am Wizard.
AKA Janabot. Not entirely too sure what's up with the Janabot right now, but as you said, we're going to be looking for a lot of tributes, and we're going to be looking at the decision making that these teams are going to be bringing it to it. Now, we do got a little bit of a party lane forming up. Mid, Heartbreakers with 3 and a hook. They're on top of the Shankston, but he's going to be A-okay. It's a little hard unless you are going to combo out the double stuns available with Uther and Tyrande there to kind of get a kill on the Diablo. He's a tanky beast. But we do got 2 bottom as well, and on the flip side, Jumping Duck. He's just going to be upstairs with the Nazebo. That shouldn't really be too much of a lane up there.
Yeah, looking like a pretty standard, soak and push kind of composition here, plan here. Looks like we've got some roving going on with K. Chavez and Frisky Bone kind of going back and forth between mid and bottom, making sure that the soaking's still going on, but that people have to stay on their toes to defend against them.
Now, K. Chavez again with that roam. They're coming out. There's the stun, and there's, Frisky Bone didn't actually throw out his. That would have been for sure a dead Diablo, just as we saw with the dead Jaina down south. We had that hook and the stun combo, and she's much more glass than the Diablo. He's a very sturdily built Lord of Terror. But you can sort of see a little bit with this roaming. This is what the Heartbreakers want to do early. They're going to go lane to lane to lane, try to get off these picks, and try to get themselves an experience advantage because those tributes are going to be popping in the next minute.
Absolutely. And like we said, the teams really have to think about what they have to lose and what they have to gain by going for those tributes. And if one team can rise ahead and have more experience, they're going to be at a little bit of an advantage when they go into those team fights. So they may convince their teammates to say, you know what, not worth it. We're going to stay here and soak while it gives them the opportunity to go grab that tribute instead.
And, again, that tribute will be up soon, and we're going to have to see which way they do want to roll. Kind of, let's take a quick look at talents while we do have the opportunity. Level 4 was achieved, both sides. We do got Pierce here for Tyrande. It has been a little bit more of a contention with the level 1s as of late, but since we have the Piercing Owl level 1, probably expect a Piercing Owl at level 16. Probably a Slam Build, I want to say, from the Stitches, but he does have a lot of room to vary it up. The level 4 onto the Amplified Healing does afford him a little bit more direction. Siphoning Arrow from the Vala. So a little bit of extra hit points coming back to her on demand, but it will give up that extra range on the multi-shot, and we got a little bit of a fight up top. Anna?
Yeah, it looks like we have quite an advantage here for the blue team as they were all 5 there, and our red team had 3 members right away, resulting in an immediate death. We had Diablo going down, which is not an easy feat, but when he's out of position, he is slow to leave, and it's hard to escape. Now, who's that just got thrown in? That is a squishy little Nazebo that just got smushed, and it looks like the blue team, aka the Heartbreakers, will be taking that first tribute as well as the first team fight.
So we saw some really early rotations coming out from the Heartbreakers. They had all 5 in position as soon as that tribute was ready to go, and the combined might of their early game was enough to take down not only the Lord of Terror, but the Nazebo as well. Nazebo, clearly, he didn't go Harlequin, so that's his problem. That's why Kirby team died, 100%. But, that was their decision. They said, all right, we're going to intentionally lose out on laning experience, and we're going to go for that tribute. Unfortunately, it looks like RG Pulse, they also tried to do the same, but they came out way worse on that deal.
Yeah, really having to pay attention to how your team is positioned when you're getting into those team fights, because we did see 3 try to engage on 5, and I think that was probably the start of the panic that resulted in people really being out of position. What you have to think about with the tribute is that you do have some time. Even if your opposing team is standing there channeling the tribute, you can let them sit for a little while and then go poke and make sure that they just don't actually capture it until the rest of your team is there.
And speaking of capturing, looks like we got some bruisers now going to be marching down the mid with a really good timing out of RG Pulse, because the bruisers are now there. It is only Jaslyn in the mid just kind of chunking away at some of these towers, but we do have another tribute, and it looks like everybody's going to be coming out for it this round.
Yeah, and it looks like we have some good grouping already going on from the Heartbreakers again. And we see 3 and now 4 of RG Pulse joining in. We'll see if they're able to protect their Diablo. This time he's getting pretty low, but Malfurion following him up, usually able to heal him or protect him a little bit. Jaina, of course, did already go down. What do you see in this fight? You think we're going to see... Oh, and there goes Diablo. So it looks like things are swinging pretty heartily in the Heartbreakers' favor.
That one support pick is really starting to show in these sustains because Jingle Sassy can only get off so many spells so quickly, but I gotta really give it to HeroesHype. Right now, he has landed, I think every kill has been a hook. Hook,
wow, really?
kill, hook, kill. Let's see. Stitches has been part of 6 takedowns, and they have 6 kills.
Wow.
So right now, he's putting up a ton of pressure. That last pick, Stitches, is starting to really ruin RG Pulse's day because they have been just, I don't think we've had really a miss.
Yeah. Yeah, when you can use Stitches correctly, he is absolutely a force to be reckoned with in a game. So what do you think that RG Pulse is going to have to do in order to make sure that this now 2-level experience lead doesn't make them at a permanent disadvantage and lose them the game?
Well, their early game is definitely shot at this point. Level 10 to 8, we got the heroics there on the table, but staying together definitely going to be a good way to deter any kind of big picks. But they're going to have to get Diablo out in the front, and they cannot afford to get hooked like that anymore. I mean, Wizard at that point, there was not really a lot of follow-up because we have a very scary setup. Stitches with the hook into a stun from Uther or a stun from the Tyrande, and we do have a mosh pit ready to go from Jumping Duck. There's so many ways for the crowd control to kind of just break down those brittle characters. So we're going to have to really look at mindful positioning from the RG Pulse. They want to be sticking together. That way they can follow up on a hook. Like, more or less this. I mean, Shanks is going to be there in the front, but, Wes and Viz, they're saying, all right, we're not even going to be taking part of this. They're going to actually run away. So we need a little bit more confidence here. It's okay to fight back. As long as you stay together, you're going to be much stronger as a group.
Well, and they have previously, just now, the RG Pulse did hit level 10. So prior to that, they know that their opponents, the Heartbreakers, are looking for a fight because they have that heroic ability advantage. So they really do have to be very careful. But now they can kind of relax a little bit and say, okay, at least we're on a level playing field in terms of how many abilities we have. And maybe we'll see a little bit more aggression or a little bit more confidence, like you said, out of them when we see the next tribute. Although now, we do have a red team curse, so they're going to have to be really careful to defend as well as they can.
And so far, I mean, the defense isn't terrible. Top is actually still very healthy. Mid, however, is likely to go down. But we also got this big push from both sides in this bottom lane. Wes out front again, and that's going to be a hook, and that's going to be a death to him. The Odin will not save whatsoever. Shanksta there with that lightning breath was a really good idea, but there's just so much AoE being thrown down on the table on both sides. Kirby team is now, he's actually going to get eaten. And he had a good Ravenous, but that's going to be it for him. He is going to drop and sports and kills, and by the end of it all, 3 more going the way of Heartbreakers. They're together, but they're just too brittle for this team.
And Jingle Sassy probably getting that frustration that only supports know, saying, guys, I can't heal all of you all the time, and wishing that perhaps he had a support compatriot, like you said, the double support comp that we saw from the Heartbreakers.
Yeah, the double support sustain and their control is just absolutely out of this world right now. They've had successful hook into stun combos. They got the AoE mosh. They have a gobble coming out from Shavels as well. I mean, there's just so many ways to control the team fight. And when it comes to the Pulse, I mean, they have a Diablo, and that's basically their only tool of initiation. They need to get that Diablo in there and just try to focus down whoever he overpowers. Problem is, I'm just not really seeing that combo being executed at all. It's always being jumped on rather than Pulse doing the jumping.
And we are seeing them being very cautious. RG Pulse saying, okay, we'd really like to get our bruisers, but we definitely know we don't want to be caught out of position. They do have an opportunity here with K Chavez and the rest of them being right behind him, but his team is not far off. We will see if that surprise will be enough. And it looks like it may not be as K Chavez keeps. Oh, and Jaina and Furion and Tychus and now Diablo have all fallen prey to the Heartbreakers.
I will give them credit, though. That was the combo we've been looking for. They overpowered into Roots. They threw down the stuns, the Ravenous. The problem is they did it on Stitches. They got the kill, but you don't want to do it on a Stitches. An Uther, a Tyrande, a Vala, any of those would have been much more viable targets. Definitely would have been a lot quicker of a kill. And because the Stitches didn't go down nearly as quick as they wanted, of course, the team was able to rally, and you just saw the 4-man wipe right there. So, I will give them credit, but unfortunately, they chose the wrong target.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing to consider, as this is kind of, you know, the amateur series. It's a place where people should be going to learn. And looking at that and saying, okay, the Stitches was the one out of position. They had the opportunity to engage on the Stitches, but knowing that Stitches is really unlikely to go down, would you recommend that a team still go for something like that? Or would you recommend that they say, this is not the opportunity that we want, let's back off and wait for something better?
Whatever decision you make, it has to be like as a group. There's nothing worse for a team than a split decision, because you just don't get anything done for it. In that case, I mean, they had to commit to it. They were already in position. They might have been able to get the kill on, you know, a different team, but they're going to try it here again. Shanksta really far forward, gets off the lightning breath. There's the Ring of Frost as well from Jaina, but, you know, we ate down Jingle Sassy. He's nowhere near his team. That Tranquility is not doing any healing whatsoever. And here comes the rest of the stuns coming in from the Heartbreakers. I mean, right now, Wizard, he's going to be on the run. He does have that sprint. Jingle Sassy once more was out of that position. And it looks like they're going to be able to disengage. Well, almost. Jaina will disengage to death, but... you know,
yeah, separating Jingle Sassy from his team there was definitely a huge point in that team fight, where they had to disengage because they did not have a healer, and he could not get back to them in all of that blocking and terrain there.
Yeah, absolutely. What could have Malfurion possibly done? Well, at level 13, Malfurion, he took Life Seed, which is fine. It's a great healing talent. Perhaps might have actually had a bit more success with Ice Block. But, you know, we'll leave that discussion for another day, as he's going to be dead in the water. We're trying to contest out this Grave Golem. Shanksta in the back with that Lightning Breath once more. KHL has actually got hit by the roots from the Golem, but nobody is dead as of yet. We're kind of losing out on a lot of that steam. Kirby is not even going to get out of that one. They did take home Stitches, and wow, we're even going to be dancing a little bit longer there as the 5-man wipe is complete. It's just, the drafting was just so heavily in favor of Heartbreakers, and 3 levels shows it.
Yeah, and their positioning would just have to be absolutely impeccably perfect, almost omniscient, in order to kind of beat this opposing team comp at this stage. We saw Diablo actually getting in a situation where he was behind the Golem, used Lightning Breath, which was smart, got his enemies to leave him alone, then died to the actual Golem, who punched him just once in the head, and he was done.
Yeah, the mighty Lord of Terror taken down by a easily Grave Golem. So, I mean, Shanksta so far, like, his engages have been really quick, really sudden, and because he closes a lot of distance with his Shadow Charge, he's also distancing himself from the rest of his team. I mean, he's typically like way far out there in the front, right? And there's not a huge amount of follow-up immediately. So maybe Shanksta should try to, you know, start looking for some targets closer to home, wait a little bit, let the team, you know, follow through and catch up, because the overpower into the roots should be enough to allow the DPS to grab a kill. But if he's so far forward, and that forces the Malfurion forward, who then gets, you know, eaten and devoured, there's no healing. He's now left to his own devices. The Malfurion spits out uselessly a little bit later. There's a lot of different positional things, a little bit team fight things. And again, with the Malfurion, the only reason I bring up the Ice Block is that if you really did want to follow on now for the Diablo's heal as quick as he is, he can easily just pop out the Trank in the middle of everything, Ice Block, and now he's, you know, immune. Wow, the Tranquility is popping out. Could have yielded some better results in the fights, but, you know, that's just pure theory at this point.
And it looks like the Heartbreakers are kind of catching a break that they don't even really need at this point, as the tribute spawns right next to where the entire team was already working on those bruisers. We see Diablo coming out again right in front. Will he be able to get the support he needs from his team this time? Malfurion is there. Oh, wow.
Jumping Duck, that sneaky Battle Cow, and you saw the collapse of the ults, right? We had the Starfall there, we had the dance, but now, you know, it's nobody's actually dead. It was a really good setup, but it looks like Heartbreakers having a heck of a time trying to close this one out. Jingle Sassy is still alive and going. Oh, that's why nobody's dead. Shanksta respawned with that 5-second death timer, but I don't know. Shanksta had really good positioning in the front there, but Jumping Duck with that flank was the deal breaker right there.
Jaina, I'm surprised, made it out alive. She was super low on health and even came back to try to do some damage of her own. Made it out, but maybe not too long to stay out of danger, as Jingle Sassy goes down and she is left all alone with all the factions heading right towards her.
Yeah, this is looking pretty dire right now for their posts. You know, they're on their last heartbeat, so to speak, as the Heartbreakers are going in for the kill. Look at this stun setup. I mean, it's Book in a stun. They got the power slide. They have the Fist of Justice. It's way too much for a lot of the characters here on posts to deal with, and it looks like that will actually be game, and a very nice control comp coming out from the Heartbreakers from the get-go with the Roam, with the Stitches combo. They were in control of this game, and they never let up.
Absolutely. RG Pulse must kind of be sitting back, a little bit of frustration. There were a lot of things they did right there, but they really, like we said, had to have that almost perfect positioning and understanding of where to have each member of their team. They really had no wiggle room as they were against that double support composition, a ton of that sustain. And so now they're scratching their heads and saying, okay, we know this team is capable of drafting something like that that's going to take out our kind of I don't know what I would call it, the sassy, very aggressive, we're going to eat your face build that we had. So how can we have a little bit more sustain next time?
Yeah, next time, perhaps a double warrior for the front end, double support. Definitely picking a Jane into that. She has very little tools, very, very little in the way of mobility, a way to kind of get out of a lot of these ganks. She's literally made of ice. I mean, she just goes down so very quickly. Nazebo's sort of in the same boat, but he was the first pick. And to protect the Nazebo, I mean, we had some pretty decent Ravenuses, but it just doesn't compare to the double heals. And that will be that. 25 kills to 3 by the end of it all. Heartbreakers move on.
Wow, and that was a best of 1. Okay, awesome. So do we know yet who we'll see next? We're going to take a brief break first. Yeah,
we will see who's also been completing a lot of their matches. But with 19 teams and double elimination, everything's going to be best of 1 until the winners finals. Then that will be best of 3. We'll duck down to the last match of the lower bracket, the bracket of alternate success. And we'll do the best of 1 there, and then we will have our grand finals best of 3. So we still got a lot of content here for you guys. Anna and my hat are not going anywhere. And when we do return, we will have our next best of 1 ready for you guys. So do stay tuned here for the Team Heroes Hype Amateur League Day 3 coverage.